Yo, what's up guys? Know it's been a while, but today I'm back and I'm going to show you some tips and tricks for how to make songs like the band Turnstile. But who are Turnstile? Turnstile are a hardcore punk band from Baltimore, Maryland, consisting of 5 members: Brendan Yates, Franz Leons, Daniel Fang, Pat McCrory, and Meg Mills. They're known for their alternative rock infused hardcore punk sound with pop and funk influence. It's just a real melting pot of sounds. They've been around for a while, but they've had a resurgence in popularity from their 2025 album, Never Enough, which even received some Grammy nominations, which is really cool to see for a hardcore punk band. They really bring hardcore to a new generation of people who otherwise wouldn't have heard it, and as a fan of heavier music and punk in general, it's just really cool to see, especially with their super awesome live presence. So now that we know a little bit about the band, we're about ready to get started with building a song. But before we get into that, I do want to mention that the best way to support the channel is by checking out my online shop, where you can get drum kits, loops, and mixing and guitar tone presets, as well as other things to help make your music. And I've decided to discount my complete bundle, which features everything on my shop, for the rest of the month. So if you want to support the channel, please check it out. Now, let's get on with the video. So firstly, I noticed a lot of their songs incorporate a synth in the intro, so I wanted to do the same here. So I took this synth preset from an Analog Lab preset pack that I had. It's just got this really cool, organic, moving kind of sound to it. And I added some saturation on top just to give it a more messed up sound. So here's what I've got. So just this really weird kind of glitchy thing. I thought it would be really great for building energy in the beginning of the song. And that brings us to another aspect of Turnstile music. I wanted to have this kind of build in the intro where I'm just adding in elements just so that when everything comes in all at once, it doesn't sound too crazy. So the next thing I decided to work on was the guitar riff. And for tones, I'm using Amplitude, and I'm using this OCD style overdrive into a gate with a JCM 900 amp, and I'm doubling that with same pedal setup, just with a dual rectifier, which all of this is gear that the band is kind of known to use that I found on a Equip board. So I kind of want to see if I can get a close tone just with the similar gear. Just a trick for double tracking your guitars. Dial in slightly less distortion than you need on each track, because when you add them together, it's going to create the illusion of more distortion. And that's how you get that really clean double tracking sound, as well as the noise gate helps out quite a bit. So for the riff, I decided to keep it quite simple, just power chords, and mainly focus on the rhythmic aspects. So here's the main riff idea that kind of everything else follows from. And then for the intro, we've just got. See, the only thing I'm really changing there is kind of the accents and the rhythm. And I'm also kind of accenting those with the drums as well to create an even more kind of impactful rhythm section. So here's what I've got for the intro with the drums as well. So now let's focus more on the drumming. This aspect can completely change the vibe of the song. For example, I have 2 sections with the exact same guitar riff playing, but the drums change and it adds this super energetic feel with double time. Here's how it sounds. You see, the only thing that's changed there are the drums, but it's completely changed the feel of the song so far. So that section goes out of double time again and into this kind of super straight groove with that first riff that I showed you. Here's how that sounds. So to me, it just feels super satisfying having all of those rhythmic changes and then finally coming back to kind of that sense of normalcy, that normal standard kind of groove. And that's kind of what I love about hardcore. You just have all these rhythmic changes, but then when you lock into that normal groove, you start bopping your head. That's what hardcore is all about, man. It's about the vibe, the energy. By the way, if you want some drum loops to jam over in kind of like an alternate hardcore punk kind of style, I've released 2 new drum loop packs and a new drum bundle. My punk drums and Midwest emo loop packs are now available. If you want to support the channel, please give them a look. And again, my complete bundle is still up for $25 for the rest of the month. Now on with the rest of the video. So the next thing I'm going to take a look at is the bass sound. So for this, I wanted a very gritty and distorted sound to the bass. And I liked the tone I got so much, I even added this little like solo bass section. So I'm using a DS1 for the distortion, kind of dialed quite low because it's quite an aggressive distortion when you put it on bass. And I'm using BOD, which is a great Sans amp plugin available for free. So here's the tone I got. This kind of serves as a break in the track, and it comes back into the rest of everything with another little snare roll. Here's how it sounds. Super cool. So the last thing that I want to take a look at, and I think is a really cool aspect of Turnstile's songs, and that's the production. Here I'm using some sound effects like impacts and rises just to add some more vibe to the song and just some straight up coolness. It's a really small thing, but I think it adds quite a bit to the song. So let me show you how they sound in context. It just makes that kind of build up even better. And I think for me that just really sells the kind of Turnstile sound, just that modern kind of production sound, because it's not something you'd really find in a lot of traditional hardcore or punk production. So those are really all the things I wanted to cover. I hope you learned something and enjoyed watching the video. If you did, please leave a like. If you really liked it and want to see more, please consider subscribing. If you want to support the channel, please check out my online shop. And without further ado, here's the full track.